Here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Vercel is the platform for front-end developers, providing the speed and reliability innovators need to create at the moment of inspiration. Founded by the creators of Next.js, Vercel has zero configuration support for 35 plus front-end frameworks, including SvelteKit. We enable the world's largest brands like Under Armour, eBay, and Nintendo to iterate faster and create quality software. Try out Vercel today to experience the easiest way to use Svelte.
Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Svelte Radio. Today, we've got yet another guest with us. He's from an AI company called Nuclia, and we're going to introduce him in a bit. But first, here's Brittany. Hi, Brittany.
Hi. How are you, Kevin?
I'm good. What about you? Are you
doing good? Yeah.
You're doing good. All right. Cool. And our guest. Hello, Eric.
Hello.
How are you doing? Hey, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm super happy.
Excellent. So we're going to get to Nuclia and you in a bit. But before that, I just wanted to give some updates around Svelte Society. So if you haven't seen it already, there's a dev vlog with Rich where him and I go through the latest changes with SvelteKit. And It's over an hour long where we basically just go through all of the new features. There's some cool stuff in there, snapshots, streaming promises, and all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, there's that. Also, Svelte Society has entered the Gen Z world. We've created a TikTok account.
I was going to say, or if your attention span is not long enough for the hour, check out the short content that you're making out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're starting I've been doing like YouTube shorts, TikToks, and the plan is to also create an Instagram account, but someone has taken the Svelte Society name there.
What?
So I need to figure out who that is and get them to hand it over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been making some YouTube short stuff that I've also uploaded to TikTok. So it's kind of the same content on YouTube shorts and on TikTok and eventually on Instagram as well, but basically doing just short clips from the longer streams, and also planning to do the same with This Week in Svelte. So there's going to be a lot of fun short content that you can, if you don't have time to look at the longer videos. Yeah, so that's it about the social media stuff. But there's also Svelte Summit coming up that's not too far away. It's just like 1.5 months. That's crazy. Yeah. If you have CFPs, you should most definitely go ahead and submit a talk. And I think it closes. It might be a couple of days before. No, it's going to close a couple of days after this goes out. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you have a couple of last-minute submissions to get in.
Yes. But yeah, so that's basically it from the news kind of point of view. And so let's move into this interview thing. Eric, who are you?
Who am I?
It's a very deep question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm a developer for a long time. I don't know if I can call me a developer since I was a kid, but I started programming stuff as a kid. Yeah, like I was 9, I think. I had an Amstrad. So I was doing basic. At the time, there were no internet and nothing like this. So I was basically buying magazines, and with a listing of the code, you can type it down and you get a game. So that was my thing, and I love that. I mean, I've been playing with computers since this very early age. And then in France, I went for technical studies and got into a telecommunication school, basically, where I discovered internet. That was the very beginning of internet. I mean, not the beginning of internet, but the beginning of the web. It was in 1993. And I start implementing my first
early.
HTML page in this time on Mosaic, the browser that was running on Unix. And I mean, I loved it. It was super simple thing, basically HTML, right? It's not even coding, I would say, but it was fascinating to me. And since then, I never lost this fascination for web, basically. So yeah, I'm still enjoying it a lot, even though it has been a long time I'm doing the same thing. But it's never the same thing, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're very much a veteran of the industry. Then you've been here for a long time.
If you want an idea, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask, like, what trends have you seen? Like, so you started. Can you tell us a bit?
Yeah, sure. At the beginning, when I was creating websites professionally, let's say, we were using frame set for navigation. So I don't know if you remember this or if you've ever known that, but it's the ability to display several HTML pages into a grid.
Oh, right.
Yeah, frames are like, iframes, I guess. Yep. Iframes, but the frame is exactly the same thing, but with a grid. And we were loading a page with a menu, and it was including a scroll bar, and it was super ugly. And that was basically, on links, you have this target thing, target top, target new, to open a new tab. Well, it used to be the way, initially was the attribute to say which part of the grid you want to open the page you are clicking on. So on the menu, you had target equal main, and it was opening the menu link into the main square, let's say. So that was we were not even doing CSS. Everything was done with attribute on the DOM, like font, border, everything was directly in the DOM, and CSS were like, who needs that? Why not? I mean, why?
Yeah, just showing text anyway, right?
Obviously. So no, it was kind of epic and counter-performant and everything. And then, I saw the beginning of what we call now frontend. And at the time, it was not called that way. I started playing with JavaScript in 1998, implementing quite important software with that. And I had no framework, nothing, no Ajax.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, using JavaScript in '98. That must have been very cumbersome, a lot of work to just do even simple things.
Doing stuff as I had no connection to anyone having knowledge about that, so I was just trying stuff. And one of my trick was to open an iframe, actually, position in minus 10,000, so it's invisible. And I was using this iframe to load a page containing a callback. So I was doing kind of something we called JSON-P now. I mean, JSON-P was a thing at a point. It was basically replacing Ajax in a context where you don't have Ajax because it was not existing. And that was the way I could implement dynamic UI without reloading the page, because obviously at the time everything was you load the page entirely.
Yeah.
So and then jQuery and then the full front end world who appeared. And at the same time, obviously, I was doing backend development, because there was no backend front thing. So you were doing web, you were doing backend, obviously, and the UI was built in on the server side. So I did a lot of Python at some point. Initially, that was not my thing. I was initially on Perl and Java and stuff, and boring stuff like this. And then Python, that's when I started using Plone CMS, or the one I'm still contributing to. And doing that, I discovered what a web framework can be on the backend side, with the MVC approach and so on.
Right. Yep.
And when I saw this kind of stuff coming to frontend with Backbone or AngularJS, I was excited, because I thought, that's exactly the way to make it better, because all the people who were basically doing HTML or JavaScript was a bit misconsidered by the rest of the developers, to be honest, because it was considered like not a real thing, not a real language. JavaScript is so stupid language. You can change a number into string and it still does not complain. The kind of criticism. And at the time it was like totally misconsidered, and some actual development tasks were considered as, integrating the UI, and it was totally false approach and false vision of the thing. And when we start having those kind of frameworks, plus, all the stack with NPM, with the ability to unit test stuff and to manage dependencies, etc. Then we start becoming something that was considered by the rest of people like, okay, maybe that's a real technology. And I was super excited about that. I was totally fine doing this kind of task. For me, it was not considered. I was not considering it dirty, because to me, the front end is where all the magic happens. Is really nice. I love that. I love that because when you are not storing the data, you're not managing the performances of the indexation or the security and stuff like this, but it looks good. And that's rewarding. I love this.
Yeah, so, the visual stuff is really enjoying. Like, that's one of the best parts with front-end work, to me at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me as well. And so those frameworks were really nice. And at some point, I understood that they were done the wrong way, because they were basically implementing back-end approach to front-end, which does not work. Because MVC basically is not a good fit for something like front-end. MVC works on the back-end because on the back-end, you control time. You have a request entering, and then you're going to process this request, and at some point you will deliver a response. So everything will happen between those two moments, nothing else. Whereas in front end, it's total chaos, because you have the user clicking on stuff, you have the server sending back answer at the time you don't control, and you have events all the time. So you cannot do MVC, it's broken. And that's where we see that we need something more decoupled with this component approach. And reactivity, obviously. And that's something that React brought. And I thought the idea was bright. Really, I love the idea, but I never fell in love with React. Never. To me, it was very ugly and very painful to use. I've been using it because it was efficient, but I was never really in love with it. And my analysis of this, and it does not apply only to front end, but for all technologies, my point of view is all technologies comes with a culture. And the culture comes from the people who are using it. And they are all different. So it's not because something is good, like React, obviously it works. I cannot tell the opposite. But the culture that comes with React is not mine. I don't feel comfortable in this environment for many reasons. It's a matter of taste. That's all. I'm not saying it's not okay. And at the contrary, Svelte seduced me immediately.
That's great to hear.
I love the fact. So with React, my first bad feeling was the fact it was JSX, basically, with all the JavaScript, with HTML tags inside. I felt like, no, I don't like it. and with Svelte, that's the opposite. You create an HTML page, and then, you need
that's it.
You need style. You put a style tag. That's how I was doing that 20 years ago, and it still works. It still applies. And if I need a script, I put script tag, and then it works. Yeah. And that's brilliant. That's simple, right? But that to me it's so elegant. Yeah. And and obviously the approach of reactivity with Svelte is so much better. So definitely.
Yeah. So that's a really nice. I guess we also got like a small history of the web here.
Evolution,
as you walk through like what you've been working, like the way the things that you've used and stuff. That's very interesting. I think that for me that's super interesting, because I started building websites with I think it was called Dreamweaver, and that was just like HTML pages, right? No backend, just I don't remember the year, but it was quite a while ago. A lot of fun though. very visual, and it's kind of. So I don't know. Have you guys used Dreamweaver, like for building websites?
A bit.
No.
Yeah.
So I'll explain it to you, Brittany. So it's basically like a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get kind of editor for HTML, and this was like back in, I don't know, must have been like early 2000s, something like that, around the millennial shift. Is that what you say in English? Millennium shift? I don't know.
Oh, millennial shift. Yeah, it sounds like a generational thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically you could just like drag and drop, and you could enter stuff, and then you had like a preview window and all that stuff. And it's kind of funny, like thinking about it. You go onto a Svelte.dev website, you go to the REPL, and it's kind of the same thing in a sense.
Well, it's kind of like...
It's like going back to basics, or going
like
back to...
Builder.io has like that drag and drop editor. Like a lot of I feel like CMSs are kind of going towards that.
Yeah, also, yeah.
Yeah, I just find it funny that we're kind of just like going away from that, and you end up in some
comes back.
yeah, and it's funny. I did a talk on Svelte last week for a company, and there was an Angular developer there. He'd been doing Angular for, I don't know, like 10 years or something, very long time, or maybe he was a developer for 10 years. Anyway, and he came up to me afterwards after I'd told him about SvelteKit, and like, oh, you can now use forms again, like you used to do back in the day. And he was like, oh yeah, I feel so familiar with this. Like I've done this so many times, but like most new developers, I feel like they don't really use forms. They just like add an event handler, like an on-click handler on a button, and then they do it all in the front end, which is kind of a shame. But yeah. Anyway, tangent.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on this, because I mean, the fantastic thing with web is a super approachable technology. Like you can't be totally not a developer and create HTML, because it's a markup language. Language here is not even programming language, right? So it was approachable, and it was it was fantastic at the time it started, because anyone were able to create their own web page. Of course, you need some knowledge to have a server, maybe rent a server somewhere, but you can just deploy your HTML page manually with FTP or stuff like this, and everyone can do that. And obviously, all those front technology we were mentioning earlier helped a lot to build more interesting UI, to deliver more value to the users, obviously. But at the same time, he made the full thing more holistic, and it's less approachable, and that's a shame. And I love the fact that whoever you are, you can create an HTML page, and Svelte is just adding a small thing on top of it, which make it a bit better than just HTML, and still super approachable.
Yeah,
so that's great.
I'm convinced like Svelte will be or something very similar to Svelte will be like the way that people learn web development in the future. Yeah. Like students just learning web development. Why would you make them learn something that's so much more complicated than
painful, like to write in vanilla code? I feel like Svelte just makes it so much more accessible and easier.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess we're also preaching a bit to the choir here. We like Svelte a lot, so. But yeah, so let's talk a bit about Nuclia. So you work at Nuclia, and what is Nuclia?
So Nuclia is a company based in Catalonia, in Spain, and it's a startup. We are still very small, and it was created by a friend of mine who I knew through the Plon community. Basically, I think for the more than 15 last year has been working. All the job I've been doing are related to the connection I had with the Plon community. So that's why I say open source is super important, and you can make a living out of it.
That's
it's
yeah. So I sorry for interrupting, but like I very much agree. Like it's like the community aspect. It opens so many doors, and it like gets you to connect with so many people. So can definitely recommend doing that. Sorry,
absolutely.
Continue.
It's a way to learn technical skills, obviously, because you will be involved in very various projects, and people are very keen in showing you what to do, how to do this or that. So it's a very different context than work, because you don't have a deadline to deliver, you don't have a budget to fit in, etc. And so you learn on a much better way, and basically you make friends. And then those people who are friends, so you enjoy being with them, you also trust them on the professional side. And so basically working with people I met through the community is a greater thing, because I know them, I love them, and I know their skills. So that's
right.
fantastic. Yep. Yeah. And also we are coming back to the culture thing. We know we share the same approach, the same vision on how to do this or that, the same. Yeah, we will always be fine with such or such approach, and that's also very comfortable, very very pleasant. So I know I'm super lucky with this. So I joined Nuclia as they were starting this great project, which is about making an AI search engine. So it's an API. Initially, that's just an API where you can push content, just like to Elasticsearch, let's say. You send your content, and this content can be anything, like a PDF, a video, just raw content. And then you will extract all the data you can get into that. So for a video, you will run text-to-speech, etc., and index that in an AI model, so you can ask questions and get answers. And that's super exciting. That's a bit what ChatGPT is doing, but just with your own documents. So for a company, it could be all your knowledge about your products or whatever it is. For a scientist, it could be stuff from their domain, etc. And then you ask questions, you get answers. And API is not exactly, front-end oriented initially, but obviously just an API is not super exciting. So if you want to sell things, if you want to convince people, you need front end, and that's why I'm there. So I do all the tooling on top of the API. So the management interface, where you pay, where you create your account and stuff like this, is done in Angular. I've been doing a lot of Angular as well, and the search widget is in Svelte. And that's what I do. And the interesting thing is my team, not just me, we are developing the front end, and we are also responsible of defining the API. So we are not the one implementing the API, because we are not backend developer. But as we are the primary user, we can say, okay, this is misleading. This is not the right way we should have this endpoint. This naming is confusing, etc. So we just give indication to the backend developer, so they create something which is sensible.
Yeah, more ergonomic maybe, or easier.
Exactly. So UX is also about APIs.
Absolutely.
So that's important. So we have UX people and front developer in my team, and we are just doing the full thing on top of the API. Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of different frameworks. Are you using that like micro front ends where there's multiple frameworks on a single page then?
So we use Angular to create this huge and heavy application with, that's a single page app. And inside we are generating the Svelte snippet of, the snippet of code corresponding to the web component, which is based on Svelte. And it is running inside Angular, just like any HTML element. So you can interact with it, you can have events and so on. So it works very well. And this thing is much better to be in Svelte, because you can just copy the snippet of code and put it on your WordPress website, on your static page, on your, on your SAP interface, wherever you can pass code. You just put this, and it's super small, super fast, super stable and efficient. So that's why Svelte is better in that case. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice.
So what's your experience been building in Svelte? So for this particular use case, so you're building I guess you're building like a widget that people can put on a website. So you're compiling it to a web component, or what's
compiling to a web component. So the way it's done. So everything is in TypeScript. I mean, as I said, I've been using Angular a lot. I liked it at some point. I like it less now, since I know Svelte, I would say. But something
Right.
I really like about Angular has been the fact that I've been pushing for TypeScript a lot, and that's a good thing. I love TypeScript. I think it's very, very important. It's super for someone who is a beginner, for example. It helps a lot. For people working in teams, it's also super important. So yeah, we have this TypeScript base, and we have an SDK, which is basically wrapping the API calls, which is in pure TypeScript. And that's an NPM package. And we use this as a dependency in our Angular application, obviously, because it does a lot of call to the API, and also as a dependency in Svelte, in the Svelte widget.
Ah, right.
So we have this core thing, which is just TypeScript, pure TypeScript, super simple and super small. The only external dependency we have there is Arc.js. I have to confess, I like Arc.js for managing, much better than Promises. And Promises are nice, but you cannot scale a lot with that, and you cannot expect having very complex process with a lot of events, a lot of calls to the backend on a clear way with Promises. That's my point of view. I
think that's a pretty common view among, especially I think people coming from Angular.
Obviously,
right? It's super popular, and it also just slots into Svelte, the Svelte store contract, right?
That's typical to Svelte elegance, that you can use an Arc.js observable as any other observable. Anything implementing subscribe can work on Svelte with just a $sign. That's crazy good. And that's what makes all of that so easy, so clean. And for anyone, any newcomers will see that and, this library is delivering observable, but that's okay. It's going to work. And that's super nice. So we have this web component. So this Svelte component is actually building several web components, because we have different options and so on. And we distribute that as the bundle on a CDN. So you can just pass the script code plus the component name everywhere. It's going to work. And it's also distributed as an NPM dependency with the typing and the Svelte code. So you can import that in your own Svelte project if you have to.
Yeah, that's nice. Here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Vercel is the platform for front-end developers, providing the speed and reliability innovators need to create at the moment of inspiration. Founded by the creators of Next.js, Vercel has zero configuration support for 35 plus front-end frameworks, including SvelteKit. We enable the world's largest brands like Under Armour, eBay, and Nintendo to iterate faster and create quality software. Try out Vercel today to experience the easiest way to use Svelte.
And so you've indexed all of the released Svelte radio episodes, right, for us?
Absolutely.
We had a call a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, around
3 weeks
there.
ago, I think.
And we chatted a bit, and I told you about the plans of rebuilding the Svelte radio website, and so you offered to I guess consume all of the episodes and put out nice, like, searchable kind of widget. And I think you sent it to me. Back.
Absolutely.
I took a look at it, and it looks great. And I'm definitely going to put it on the website, because it's so nice to be able to actually search through the actual content of the audio rather than just like the show notes or transcription.
And to be able to pull things out of like episodes to like tag and search the specific things that you're talking about. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's super important. And also, so it's very pleasant and useful for anyone, but in terms of accessibility, it's also super important. When you're deaf, when you're blind, there is a lot of things you cannot do with a regular website, and everything which can improve that. So typically you have a video, if you have something which is able to search into the video content, into the speech, it makes a big difference, really. So it should be always considered when you are trying to make your stuff as accessible as possible.
Yep, I totally agree. Yeah, so it's interesting that like I'm sure you follow like much of the AI stuff that's been going on recently. Like Google released something called Bard. Obviously, ChatGPT is out there as well. It really feels like the AI space is very much booming, and like everyone is using AI everywhere.
Yeah.
At least that from the outside looking in, kind of looks like it.
It does. And what's funny about it, so I'm gonna be the grandpa guy again, but as I was a student, I've been studying this also. I mean, neural networks and the ability to train something in order it makes some match. So I was really impressed at the time. He was able to recognize unwritten figures, stuff like this.
Oh.
And then I've never been using it. I mean, I used it as one time in my career in the late 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to recognize corn, for agriculture in order to sort the bad one and the good one. Yeah. But it was more an experiment than anything else. And then I totally stopped on this for a very long time. I was working on other domain. And when all these AI things start being growing again, I thought, I should check how it works. And the magic about it is exactly the same thing as been studying 20 years before. It was the very same technology, but the difference, the only difference here, I mean, there is a lot of difference, but the main difference is CPU, which is much more powerful now, and data. Because at the time, so now we have a lot of data sets, and those data sets is what make training possible. And without that, you have nothing. You have just nothing. Right. So that's why data is so important. That's why, the GAFAM are collecting so many data, because it helps on that. And we haven't invented a lot since the first principle of that, but now you can operate on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, training basically means you have like, for example, to use the corn example, you would have like 50 million pictures of corn, different sizes and different shapes and different versions, and then you would
like teaching it.
Yeah, you're kind of teaching it. This is just my very amateurish view of what machine learning is. So
So you send a lot of pictures and you indicate which is which, and then the system will just change its parameters in order to match what's expected. That's just that.
Yeah, it's deceptively simple in a way.
Yeah, we are also deceptively simple as humans. So
right, that is true. At least on the surface.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So why did Nuclia pick Svelte for this widget and the embedding functionality?
So I wanted something which were providing component approach. I wanted something, not a framework. Okay, so just a library and a component library, obviously, and not React.
Right.
and I had first try with Svelte. Svelte 2, I think already it was, and I loved it. So I decided now it's time for me to go on real stuff with Svelte. That was my opportunity to do it, and as I was the one making the decision, I just said, okay, let's go with that. Obviously, I asked my colleague, because my colleague in my team were not doing Svelte at all. So one of them were doing a lot of React and Angular. The other one were AngularJS and Angular. And I just introduced them Svelte, saying, okay, what do you think? And they loved it as well. So we said, okay, let's go with that.
That's you answered my question that I was going to ask. What did they think about it? So it's good that they loved it.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I would not. It's super important that in a team, everyone agrees on the main direction, right? So it's not like you're the chief, you make the decision and people have to follow. That's not right at all.
Right. No, I agree.
Yep. I always make sure that all the decisions we make are collegial. Yeah, it's important. And Svelte was a big. I mean, everyone loved it. So yeah.
That's good. So it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that you tried Svelte 2. Like the second version of Svelte, because Svelte has been version 3 now for I think since 2019.
4 years.
Yeah, I've only ever used Svelte 3, so it's rare to talk to someone that has actually tried the earlier versions. Like we have some of the maintainers and some of the community people, but yeah, because I think it's used to be that you wouldn't create Svelte files, you would have like HTML files and. I don't remember. Actually, maybe I should make a video on this on the YouTube channel and do a comparison. That could be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I had a look initially to Svelte just out of curiosity. That's all. Yeah. I just tried. I'm not the kind of person trying everything which is published on the web. I mean, permanently because I try to stay informed, and this one attracted me. I saw some article from Rich, and I liked the way he was introducing reactivity a lot. It's the way to say, just think about Excel. This article where he said reactivity is like this. You in Excel you write a formula in one cell, and then you can change whatever you want. It will always be true. Always updated. And that's exactly what reactivity is. And if you go to the React community, you see how they explain reactivity. Well, that's terrible. And this you can explain that to a non-developer and they understand. So
that's a really good point.
I love this point of view, and I also loved a lot what he said about SPAs. And I was myself wondering a lot about where we are going with this full SPA approach. And what he was saying at the time was totally resonating with me. And so that's why I started playing with Svelte. And then making small project, playing with it. And then at some point, I decided to use it in my actual work.
Yeah, cool. So, anything else you want to mention around Nuclia before we move on to some other?
No, nothing special. I mean, I hope we will have it running on the Svelte Radio website soon, so people can enjoy it. And besides that, nothing else.
Cool. So you've also been doing some libraries and stuff here. You've linked us a library called Talk to Svelte.
Talk to Svelte. So I don't know if you're familiar with the speech API, which is in web browser. This API is interesting to me. It's not super. I mean, it's been designed a long time ago. It's still in beta. I mean, it's still a draft regarding the specification, which is a shame. And I love it.
It's still a draft.
I thought it is, yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's been for 11 years or so. Yeah. And so what it does, it can do speech recognition. So you can talk and it will record and try to find, make the speech recognition of it. And it can do speech synthesis. Okay. And it's not often that you think that you could use this kind of stuff on a web page. But my point is that we should maybe. What I did with Talk to Svelte is basically a super simple directive. So use speech command on anything, like on a button or a link or whatever, and you can say a command to activate it. So instead of clicking in a menu, you can just say menu, home, menu, examples, or whatever, and it will navigate or it will click buttons, and you can just do this kind of stuff. And you can also ask the web page to talk to you and to read something to you. So what are the usages? the use cases, for that. Well, I think first that now most of the people will go on the web with their phone, and a phone is called a phone for a reason. It's not called a finger; it's called a phone,
right? Yep.
Because you are supposed to hear and to talk with it, and that's how it's been designed initially. Even though we are not interacting a lot with our voice and ears with it anymore, but I think it could be useful. And also in terms of accessibility, same thing that we were commenting earlier. For many people, it can be difficult to manipulate the screen with the fingers and everything. And speaking or hearing is also a very natural way to interact. So that's basically about it. It's very simple, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm looking a bit at the documentation here, and I see this one example here. Click on links or buttons. So you have a button that says login, and then you just attach the Svelte action called speech command, and you name it. I guess you pass a string that will call or click the button.
Click the button
programmatically.
It just click the button.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So you could just say log in, and you log in then.
Absolutely. And so obviously you need to be careful with languages, because if you're not a native English speaker like I am, it might be challenging, but you can switch to any other language. It works. A lot of languages are supported, so it's very fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's actually interesting. And so you can, a lot of people are used to say, Alexa, do this or that. You can do that on your website, right? So
Svelte, log into my application.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
This is very cool. And it's also like it's progressive enhancement out of the box, because it's using an action in this case as well. So that's fun. All right, cool. So we're going to link that. And and then maybe we should talk a bit about Plone CMS. I'd never heard about it before you
okay. So Plone
mentioned it.
Plone is very old now. Most of the big CMS are old. Drupal, WordPress, all of them are from the beginning of the 2000, and they all come from the time where a lot of people were building websites and needed some tooling. With that, obviously, you cannot just have developers creating manually HTML permanently. You need people to be able to just publish what they have to without being with a basic UI, right? And Dreamweaver is the one approach, but if you want something online, then you have a CMS. And Plone has been very successful at the beginning.
Yep.
It's very small compared to the biggest one, which is WordPress. WordPress is basically 50% of everything, right? Yeah. And the rest
it's still growing as well, I think. Which is crazy.
It's interesting, because when you are doing fun stuff like doing React or whatever, and using as a backend something based on I don't know MongoDB or stuff like this, it's surprising to see the actual amount of website using PHP and MySQL and jQuery, because it's still growing. And for me, it's like technology from super long time ago, but it's still growing because it's simple, it's cheap, and there is a lot.
And it works, right?
It works, yeah.
Well, that's we could discuss that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it takes
obviously,
a very long time to load.
I would never use this myself, but
same.
Sometimes you are in your bubble, technical bubble, and you feel like, okay, everyone is doing Svelte or React nowadays. No, people are doing jQuery. And so Plone is based on Python, and this is an enterprise CMS. Not for your own website. You would use WordPress, obviously. This one is specifically known for its security. So that's the CMS used by the CIA website, the NASA website, the FBI website, and it never had a 0 day in this full.
Oh wow!
It's never. So
that's pretty cool.
if you are manipulating dirty information on your website and you don't want something like the Panama Papers leak, you use Plone.
Right.
I do not. I'm not saying that I'm supporting dirty financial stuff, but yeah, it's very secure. Yeah. And one thing interesting with Plone is that it was providing the very beginning the ability to code through the web interface. So you could configure stuff, obviously create a page, etc. But you could also create a class. You could also create templates all through the web interface. And that was magical because then you could have people totally not able to deploy things locally with, it was not Docker at the time, but it would be Docker. And it's super technical and you don't understand what is this and this configuration file and so on. No, you just go to the thing. And if you're a manager, you can start implementing a new page, a new component, a new whatever directly. So on one sense, it's freedom and approachability. On another sense, it's also the source of a lot of mess because you can do many dirty things, but it's so fun. And that's something I loved about Plone and something I tried to restore. So now Plone has a front-end UI, which is purely in React, and the backend is still Python, but just an API. And you can create, obviously, there is a framework, so you can create your own component to do, something interesting with your contents in React and package it and distribute it. That's okay. Yeah. But you cannot anymore go through the web interface and start developing. So that's something I implemented with Svelte because what is cool with Svelte is it's a compiler. Right. And so you can run this compiler in your browser and get stuff done. So basically, you take something like a code editor, like Code Mirror, for example, Ace Editor, whatever it is, and you just write down Svelte code, and you compile it, and you get some JS or CSS maybe, and you store it somewhere. Yep. And you can compile it as a web component. So now you can use it wherever you want, and it's gonna work. Yeah. So that's a way to make the full thing dynamic again and hackable again. I love the principle of hackability. To let people do whatever they want. And maybe going to be messy, but at least they're free to do it. Yeah,
it's approachable, but you get a lot of power with it, right?
Yeah, so a lot of responsibility, as we all know.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I think that's it for the main topics. So we usually do an unpopular opinion section. Does anyone have any unpopular opinions? Brittany, do you?
I have one. I don't know if it's just my age, if I'm just too old at this point, but I do not get short form content in general, and I think it's kind of worthless. How much can you really learn in 45 seconds?
A surprising amount. No, I don't know.
It's so popular. I have a feeling that it's an unpopular opinion, but I don't know if I'm just too old at this point.
I think it's maybe in the older generations. So, and older meaning anyone above Gen Z, basically. We're all no, this is not a good thing. So I often on the subway when I go to the office, I see all these people there and they're on their phone and they're just swiping these TikTok videos and they're only watching 1 second until they find something and then they watch for 5 seconds and then they keep scrolling. But yeah, I don't know. I don't understand the appeal kind of, but then I have used it myself, for Instagram has it as well, right? And I end up scrolling there and suddenly I've been there for an hour and I'm not even enjoying myself, which is terrible. So
yeah, that's true. And you did talk about at the beginning of the episode how you're getting into it for Svelte Society and tech too. So you have to do what people like.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go where the eyeballs are, if that makes sense, which is kind of sad in a way, but it's how it works. So yeah. All right, Eric, do you have a?
Yeah, well, basically what I was just commenting about the ability to code online, to hack something. I know a lot of developers are very much into principle, like you need to use GitHub or to save your sources, and everything should be always super clean and tested and so on. And okay, I get the point, and I do that myself. But I also support a lot the fact that you can just do crappy stuff online, store it, and have it running, and you're not a developer. That's totally fine. I love this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people don't want that because they know, then I need to maintain all of that and it's going to be messy for me. Yes, right. But I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah. And then also, like, if you're just like trying to hack something together, maybe you're not actually trying to build something that is going to exist for a long time. Maybe you just want to see how it works and all of that. Absolutely. So I love this thing. And every time I can, that's basically this kind of stuff I try to enable all the time. Yeah. Yep. All right. Cool. I don't have an unpopular opinion today. I'm sure I have many, but yeah, basically. So let's move on to the picks here, and I'll do Brittany's because someone is vacuuming, and she can't really talk, I guess. So State of Svelte is coming up. So that's a kind of a live panel thing that this dot is putting on, and we're going to be talking about the latest updates to Svelte and SvelteKit, and Brittany will be there. I will be there. Jeff Rich from the core maintainer team will be there. Doom or Simon, also maintainer, will be there, and Scott Spence from the London kind of side of things, and also Rob Vercel, who is, I guess, this .labs person that will talk about Svelte there. So that's Brittany's pick. Eric, do you have a pick?
Yeah, well, so it's not recent or anything, but I discovered it quite recently. It's a TV show named Halt and Catch Fire. So maybe you heard about it. It's a very, very nice story about, computers. The computer industry in the 80s, from the end of the 70s until the beginning of internet, let's say. And it's not the real story, obviously, but you can relate to real people and real companies and so on. And it's super, super nice and super interesting. And I loved this TV show. Yeah.
I'm going to take a look. Just looking at the IMDb page, it looks like a show I would enjoy. But yeah. All right. Picks. Do I have a pick? I'm going to pick, what's it called? Rubber ducking? Is that what it's called? When you're explaining a code problem to a rubber duck. So recently, when I was in Lisbon, I picked up 2 rubber ducks, and I'm just going to show this one here on the screen. Obviously, listeners won't see this, but I call him Darth Quacker, and it's basically a rubber duck that looks like Darth Vader. He's been helping me a lot with issues in my code, so I can recommend rubber ducking if you haven't tried it.
Check the chat.
All right, so
I just put a rainbow corgi in.
Oh, nice.
Rainbow corgi rubber duck.
That might be something for people to get, or maybe a Svelte branded rubber duck at some point. That could be fun. All right.
That'd be awesome.
I think that's my pick. Very weird pick. But yeah, so this company in Portugal, they only do like rubber ducks. It's a store full of like hundreds of different rubber ducks, which is crazy. But yeah. So if you're in Lisbon, go check it out. I think that's it. Cool. That's the end of the show. Eric, thank you again for joining us.
Sure, it was a pleasure.
Where can people find you Are you on GitHub? Are you on Twitter? What's
on GitHub? Yeah. On Twitter, not. I mean, still on GitHub, on Twitter, but not super active anymore. And on Mastodon.
Yep.
And I can paste my handles there. Yep. Sure.
All right. Cool. And yeah, I think that's all. Thanks to everyone listening. We'll see you next week, and enjoy your week. Bye.
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 Hey, it's Kavir. If you like the show, please drop a review on your favorite podcast player. It would help out a lot. Thanks.